All right, looks like we are live, except on Instagram, probably because it's not connecting again. Instagram has problems. All right, all good. Today, day 291. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. So let's go ahead and get through this. Today, we are looking in 35215, the zip code just northeast of downtown Birmingham, past the airport. Looking at this area here up in Center Point, found this property listed for $171,900. This is an interesting area because the prices for these properties are like mid 100s to almost 200s. Really, really interesting. Pretty high ARV. And as I start to look in this area a little bit more, nowadays, heavier rehabs with better BRRRR opportunities. I really like this area. So let's go ahead and take a look at this property and see what we can get for rent. So 2640 First Street Northeast. Again, relatively turnkey. There's some carpeting. Don't know if that's your style, but sometimes folks like to just take out the carpet and put in a new flooring. But if you want to wait for that until after maybe the next series of tenants move out, that's okay. It's completely up to you. 4-bed, 2-bath, 1340. Recently rented, new paint, new flooring, new water heater. So nothing here about new roof or anything like that. So just in case there's any issues, I'm going to leave aside some money for the roof repairs later. That's the numbers right here. All right, sounds good. So in order for us to get the rent ceiling for this property, we need to go to HUD FMR. Look up which county is in Jefferson County. Great. After you click on the first link on Googling HUD FMR, you want to scroll down to access to small area FMRs. After you pull that right up, you want to look up FY 2024 FMRs, Alabama, Jefferson County. And now you're going to get by zip code, by bedroom count, what the maximum you're going to rent for this area, which is in 35215, it's 1440 and 1600. So 1600 is going to be my rent ceiling here for 35215. 35215. And then your maximum rent here is going to be 1440 for a 3-bed. But because this is already a 4-bed, I'm just going to get the market rents for a 4-bedroom. Okay, doesn't make sense for me to go down one. To get my market rents, I'm going to go to affordablehousing.com. I'm going to go to the owner section. I'm going to go to the market rent estimator. I'm going to plug in the address right here. Let's see. Oops. That up here. Oh, I didn't copy. Weird. There we go. Now I got my 4-bed. Click get estimate. And then the most important number right here is going to be this number on the bottom right. It says that for 25 units within a 1.48 mile radius, the average rent is $1,484. Let me write that one down. $1,484. So nice. I got 2 screens again. All right, $1,484, $1,450 for the zip, $1,400 for the city, and $1,911 for the county. So the 1484 number makes me feel pretty good because that's the brand I'm going to underwrite it at. I'm not going to use 1600 because usually the 1600 also includes some utilities, and because of the rent reasonableness test. All right, let me show you what the rent reasonableness test is. If you go to the Housing Choice Voucher Guidebook, Housing Choice Voucher was what was previously known as Section 8. They rebranded it to Section 8. To Housing Choice Voucher because of the bad connotation associated with Section 8. Now, when you are able to go to Section 2.2, there's a test called the Rent Reasonableness Test. And the term goes, in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, that's what it stands for, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So in this scenario, we have to use the lower of the two because you can't charge more rent to a resident simply because they're a voucher holder. Most public housing owners will never allow you to do that because they don't want to lose money. Why would they allow you to charge more money? And obviously, it's dependent on the size, the unit type, and everything. But in this scenario, the 4 bedrooms, you don't really see 4-bedroom apartments or anything like that. So you got to be mindful of that. But understand that 1484 is probably your cap on this. So I'm going to do 1450 just to be a little conservative. They usually kind of round to the 25s. So I'm going to do 1450. And then I'm going to put in my details now. So for this property, it's listed for $171,900. We'll put that right into the asking price in B4. For my renovations, I'm going to go to my rehab calculator spreadsheet right here. It's 1340 square feet. I don't need to paint the place because it's fresh paint. I don't need to replace any flooring because they said it's new flooring. I'm gonna leave it as $500 for landscaping. I got $1,500 for the roof. And then there's 2 bathrooms. I generally try to put 2 high pressure flush toilets in there just to avoid any issues. And I don't really like getting phone calls, to be quite honest with you, about clogged toilets. So that's my personal preference. You don't have to do that, but that's what I do. So now I got $3,500 for my rehab. All right, I got $1,450 for my rents. Okay. Now for my taxes, I'm gonna get it right from the Redfin estimator. I'm gonna go down to the section right here. Property tax is $98. Again, you probably have to go and double check on your property county assessor records to get the exact amount. I'm just doing this as an exercise to figure out whether or not this is worth my time to investigate the deal further, to spend time, to get a contractor out there, to pay for boots on the ground, for someone to walk the site. These are all the items that I have to go through in my head to figure out whether that's worth it. Right. So just make sure you're aware of that. Okay. Monthly insurance, this is going to be $133. $133. Okay. All right. So now that I got my $133 of insurance in there, I'm going to do equals 133 times 1.2, right? I'm adding a 20% premium to the property insurance number because generally I'm assuming that someone's estimated insurance based off of a prime residence property. And if I turn this into investment property in general, right? Not always. In general, the insurance premium is going to be higher because they view an investment property as a more risky insured property. So that's why I'm adding a 20% premium by multiplying by 1.2. Okay. I had 10% set aside for maintenance because something always breaks at your home or it will break. So if you're going to replace your roof in 15, 20 years for like $15,000 or $20,000, you better start putting aside that money now, because you might be tricking yourself into thinking that you're making more money than you actually are, right? You don't want to be that person with a $20,000 roof replacement cost 20 years from now and thinking that you made an extra $145 every single month, when in reality that wasn't the case, because that money doesn't belong to you, okay? All right, next thing up, we got 10% for property management. I got 5% for vacancy. So if you rent this out, so let's go ahead and plug in some numbers here. If I go to 25% down, I'm going to do equals to my B4 times my down payment percentage in F19. And in cell E19, that's going to return me the actual down payment amount for that property. All right. I'm going to zero everything out because these aren't the off-market deals I was working on. No arrears, no commissions or assignment. I got 2.5% for closing costs, $3,500 for my renovations. And then my finance amount right now is going to be calculated in K6. And in K6, I'm going to equals to my asking price minus my down payment amount, right? That's $128,000. I'm estimating my interest rate is going to be about 8.25% right now. This is going to be a 7/17/24 start date, so it doesn't mess me up. There's no other set of principal payments, so I'm going to zero that out for my secondary loan field. That was for an off-market deal. So in that scenario, right, if I buy this property on the market and I rent it out as a 4-bedroom for $1,450 a month, right? $1,450, put that right in. I would cash for negative $139 a month. That's going to result in a negative 3.3% return, assuming I bought this property for $171,900 with $3,500 rehab, 25% down, 8.25% interest rate. Okay. Now, as is not a deal, but the exercise I want to go through with all of you is, hey, how do you make this a deal? Well, watch what happens as I lower the asking price, right, to my cash and cash return number. Again, this is not investment advice. I'm not saying everybody should have a 10% return. I'm just using a benchmark. I'm saying I want to look for at least a 10% return on my market. So if I lower my asking price to, let's say, $130,000, $100,000, boom, 105, 103, 102, right? 101. Now all of a sudden at $101,000, this would be a deal for me, right? So 4-bed, $1,450, keep everything else the same. Now you're going to be canceling $261 a month, 10% return. But I was assuming you bought the property for 101,000, and you kept Everything else the same. $3,500, 25%, 8.25% interest rate. All right. Let's do a couple more scenarios. Right? What if you got this property locked in? Then you're like, all right, this is now a deal for me. You send someone out there and they look at the property and it looks nothing like the photos. Don't know why, but sometimes it happens, or maybe someone broke in. Who knows? You get a contractor out there and they're like, oh, there's some foundation issues or whatever, right? What if all of a sudden your rehab quintuple, 5x, and now your rehab is $17,000 instead of the $3,500? Well, you saw what happened to the cash return? It just went down, 6.9%. So in order for you to go through with the deal, quote unquote, right, for you to feel comfortable or for the math to still make sense, now all of a sudden you might only be willing to pay $85,000 instead of 101, right? Because this is still, in your opinion or my opinion, still a deal because it meets your return criteria, because that's still 10.3% return. You was cash with 351, but now you're buying it for $85,000 instead of $101,000, and that's because your rehab has quintupled to 17.4K with a 25% down payment, assuming everything else stays constant. Now, this property sits on the market for a lot longer. I mean, this has only been on the market for 16 days, so it's not long at all. You might say, well, what if the seller is really, really stuck on 171.9K? There's no way they're going to move on it, right? If your rehab was still $17,000, how do you make this a deal? Well, let's pull one more lever. Let's lower the interest rate on a financing amount, right? Let's assume the seller owns this property free and clear, and you turn this into a 2% interest rate or a 0% interest rate. That's still not a deal because it's only 8.8% return on the money, right? So you might have to lower the down payment to 20% or 15%. There you go. So now all of a sudden you made it a deal. Hey, now you can go to the seller and say, hey, I'll give you $171,900. But I can only give you 15% down, and you have to finance the rest of the number to me, right? So you still get the price that you want, right? The rehab is $17,400 because I uncovered all these things, right? I'll give you still $171,900 if you give me a 15% down at a 0% interest rate. So every single one of my payments every single month, it's for principal only. And that's a 10.7% return. I share all these scenarios with you so you can get comfortable around if you know what your criteria is. Again, it's not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm simply showing you how to work and the process by which to take emotion out of the deal and keep you objectively focused on the numbers, right? Obviously, there's still execution risk. You still need your contractor to do what he or she said they were going to do, right, for the rehab and show up on time and get it fixed out. You still have to do all of that. So don't think for a second that this eliminates that need. But at least be sure that you understand why you're purchasing the deal. And when something unexpectedly pops up, which it absolutely is, it's always going to pop up. You're going to find something in inspection that wasn't disclosed, blah, blah, blah. That happens all the time. You have to be comfortable with, hey, what's my walkaway number? What if I do this, or what if this doesn't do this, right? Is 1% off, is a 9% cash on cash return a deal breaker for you, right? When your return criteria is 10%. I don't know. That's your own risk tolerance. That's your own decision because it's your time, it's your energy, and it's up to you to decide how to spend it. All right. So that's the work I wanted to do today. Today is day 291. I thank you for turning into the live today. If you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, go to affordablehousing.io, click on the Get Deal Analysis tool, put in your name, your email, your phone number. I promise I won't spam you, and you'll get a copy of the spreadsheet right away. My goal is that you copy my homework today. Do exactly look at the same deal I looked at today using the same spreadsheet. Put it on your own YouTube channel. And that's how you get your reps in. That's how you get practice. That's how you give yourself the confidence that you know what you're doing when a deal comes across the table and slaps you across the face. All right. Have an amazing Wednesday, everybody. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today. And I'll be back here again tomorrow for day 292. Have an amazing day, everybody. I'll be back here again tomorrow.